Welcome. Today we're exploring some really unsettling real-life experiences. These come from babysitters, and we're drawing them directly from a specific source you've given us.
That's right. We'll be looking closely at the details in four distinct accounts, trying to understand exactly what happened as described and, well, the fear involved.
So just a heads up for you listening, these stories are definitely suspenseful. They can get pretty scary, actually. They give you a glimpse into, unexpected dangers popping up where you'd least expect them in places that should feel totally safe. Let's just jump right in. Okay, so this first account from the source, it puts us late at night. Basement of an uncle's house. The narrator's babysitting their cousin and 4 of his friends.
Okay.
They're all about 10 years old, playing video games. And the narrator's getting paid $100, probably thinking, easy gig.
Seems pretty straightforward, right? Mm-hmm. A bunch of kids, video games, what happens?
Well, that's when the sounds start. Footsteps coming from upstairs. And the narrator absolutely knows, the adults are not supposed to be home. A couple of the kids hear it too. And that's when things get really uneasy.
Yeah, hearing something you shouldn't, especially in a house you know should be empty. That's an instant red flag, isn't it?
Exactly. And then comes this, critical realization. The basement door, the one leading upstairs, it's wide open.
Hold on.
So, panic, it sets in fast. The first thought is maybe run upstairs. But no, the door only locks from the outside.
So they're already vulnerable. That access point wasn't secure to begin with.
Right. So the plan has to change instantly. Get the kids hidden quick. They rush them into this workout room down in the basement.
Okay.
Turn off the TV, lights out, everyone piles in. And while they're doing this, trying to barricade the workout room door with, a chair and some barbell weights they find,
Yeah.
they hear it.
Boy.
Heavy steps coming down the stairs, and then the creak, the basement door opening.
Wow, that must have been absolutely chilling. Just listening from the dark as, the threat gets closer and closer.
Yeah, totally chilling. The sounds keep coming. The person apparently opens the boiler room door for a second and closes it. And then just the worst possible sound, the doorknob of the workout room, the room they're in, starts to turn.
Oh, man. Right there. The source really puts you in that moment, doesn't it? That feeling of being found.
Yeah. One of the kids starts crying, understandably, and the narrator has to shush them. The source says whoever was trying the door gave up pretty quickly, though.
Really?
Yeah, just rushed back upstairs. They heard footsteps heading towards the front of the house then. Silence. And you have to remember, this was before everyone had cell phones, right? So no quick 911 call from the basement.
Right, no easy way to get help immediately.
So they wait. Eventually, when they feel it's safe, they creep out and check the house. The front door left wide open.
Oh, wow.
Upstairs bedrooms completely trashed. Some things were stolen, but thankfully everyone was okay. Physically safe.
What really strikes me about this first account from your source is just how suddenly that feeling of safety can just shatter, and how fast the narrator had to think, how fast they had to act under that extreme pressure to protect those kids. That open basement door. Such a small detail, but it became the entry point for real danger.
Okay, let's move to the second story from the source. This one takes place during a blizzard in Valley Stream.
Okay.
The narrator was getting paid pretty well, $250 to watch a child named Matthew for the whole weekend, and this all went down on the first night of Friday.
So the weather itself is adding to that sense of isolation, right?
Yes,
Cut off.
Exactly. It's around midnight. They're just settled in, watching a movie in the living room, and there's a knock at the door.
Late.
Very late. Unexpected. So naturally, they ignore it, but just seconds later, it turns aggressive.
How so?
They hear, 2 or 3 men just furiously banging on the door, shouting, demanding to be let in. The source describes the fear as just immediate, intense.
Yeah, I can imagine.
A quick peek through the blinds confirms that someone is standing right outside the window.
That is absolutely the stuff of nightmares. Knowing someone's trying to force their way in, and you're responsible for a child inside.
Totally terrifying. So the narrator runs to the kitchen phone, calls the police, but the news isn't good. Because of the blizzard, the dispatcher says response time will be really delayed.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah. The instruction is basically, take the child and hide. And in just the sheer panic of that moment, the narrator apparently just hangs up the phone.
Understandable panic, I guess. What happens next?
There's this short, awful silence, and then that unmistakable sound. Glass shattering from another room.
They're in.
They're in. The narrator describes their knees feeling weak, just pure terror, but they know they have to get to Matthew. He's upstairs asleep.
God, that's an impossible situation.
Yeah.
Do you stay hidden? Do you risk moving to get the child?
They make a break for it, race upstairs, but there's no time to get back down because they can already hear them. The intruder's footsteps downstairs, and disturbingly, laughter.
Laughter. Oh, that's sick.
Yeah. So they grab Matthew, and the quickest hiding spot they can find is his toy closet. They scramble inside, and the narrator covers Matthew's mouth to keep him quiet.
Just waiting in the dark.
Waiting in the absolute dark. Minutes feel like hours, you know. Then, footsteps right outside, reaching the bedroom door. People come into the room, and Matthew, he lets out this tiny little squeal. They hear multiple voices right there, just outside the closet door. It feels hopeless. But then, just as everything seems lost, they hear it. Faintly at first, but definitely a police siren outside.
Wow, talk about timing.
Incredible timing. They hear one of the men mutter something, react to the siren, and then hurried footsteps running back downstairs.
So the police got there just in time.
Just in time. Apparently, the police found footprints in the snow leading to a nearby shed where they caught them. 5 men in total.
5. Wow. This account really drives home that feeling of being utterly trapped, doesn't it? Trapped inside the house, and the outside world, the help you'd normally rely on, is cut off by the storm. And like you said, that detail about hearing them laughing, it adds such a disturbing, cruel layer to it all.
Okay, story number 3 from the source. This one takes a bit of a different turn. The narrator here was 15, babysitting a kid named Mike. They decided to take Mike and his dog for a walk in the woods behind the house.
Okay, woods behind the house. Dogs are often pretty attuned to things we miss, aren't they?
Oh, definitely. And this dog was definitely picking up on something. All of a sudden, its ears shoot up, paw raised, it starts barking like crazy, just frantically pulling on the leash.
Not just chasing a squirrel, then.
No. This is different. It was reacting to something specific, something that clearly scared it. The narrator's first thought was, maybe an animal. A bear or something. But then they see what the dog's locked onto. There's a guy standing by a tree, just staring at them.
Just staring. That's immediately unsettling.
Yeah. The narrator yells out, hey, you need help. Something like that. But the guy doesn't say a word, just turns around and walks back into the woods. Disappears. The narrator says they felt genuinely freaked out.
I bet. That's not normal behavior at all.
Yeah.
Just standing there staring, then vanishing when spoken to. It's more about an unnerving presence than like an immediate attack.
Exactly. So they head back towards the house, but on the way back, the dog starts up again, freaking out, looking behind them, pulling the narrator hard.
Oh, man.
The fear that the same guy was following them felt very, very real. The dog was going nuts, but the narrator resisted the urge to let it off the leash. They just hurried back, didn't look back, even with the dog barking and pulling the whole way.
That feeling of being watched, being followed, it just gets under your skin, doesn't it? It erodes your sense of safety, even if nothing physical has happened yet.
Totally. So back in the house, they immediately go into precaution mode, checking all the windows, all of the doors. The source says they spent a good half hour just double checking everything.
Trying to secure the space.
Right. They try to calm down, maybe relax by playing Mario Kart, thinking, okay, we're inside now, we're safe. But that feeling, it didn't last.
What happened?
They hear a sound from the patio, right outside the window, something falling over. They flip on the patio light, and there's this green bucket, like a beach toy bucket, knocked over. The source specifically notes it was kind of heavy, too heavy for, like, a raccoon or a cat to knock over easily. And the dog goes absolutely crazy again, barking at the window.
So that confirms it then. It wasn't just a weird encounter in the woods, whatever, whoever it was, followed them right back to the house. It validates that fear they felt.
Completely. And this is where the story gets pretty desperate. They keep hearing these strange noises outside. Taps on the glass, wind chimes moving when there's no wind, other things falling over. The fear and confusion are just mounting. So the narrator makes a decision. They admit later it maybe sounds dumb, but it was pure panic. They tell 8-year-old Mike to go get his dad's hunting rifle.
Wow, an 8-year-old. That shows the level of fear.
Absolutely. Then, through a window, they catch another glimpse of the man. He was just walking past, but then he sees the narrator looking at him, and he stops. Dead still.
And the narrator has the rifle.
Yeah. Holding the rifle, they lift it just slightly, kind of to show they're armed,
And his reaction, this is the really chilling part, isn't it?
It really is. Because he doesn't immediately bolt. He doesn't run away. The source says he just stood there crouched like some kind of creature and just stayed.
Like a creature. That description is terrifying.
Isn't it? It wasn't until the narrator held the gun up more firmly that he finally, slowly turned and walked back into the woods. Disappeared again. They didn't sleep all night, obviously. Just jumping at every single noise. And the final part of this. About a week later, Mike's parents call the narrator. They're totally freaked out themselves. They say some creepy man has been stalking their house from the woods.
So it's the same guy, confirmation.
Yeah, the narrator confirmed it. And even though the parents apparently pleaded with them to come back, the narrator just said no. Permanently declined any more babysitting for that family. Understandably.
Yeah, completely understandably. This story, it shows a really disturbing kind of threat, doesn't it? It's not about a quick break-in or theft. It's this persistent, unnerving presence, stalking from the edges, and then culminating in that terrifying, almost predatory posture the source describes when he was finally confronted. Really unsettling.
Okay, let's get to our final story from the source. This one comes from a narrator who babysat a lot between ages 15 and 18, often in a pretty wealthy area, doing overnight sits sometimes.
Okay.
They were watching a 12-year-old boy named Michael. His parents described him as, well, quiet, maybe a bit weird. Said he sometimes needed extra attention.
So a slightly different dynamic here. More focus maybe on the internal environment of the house and the child's behavior, perhaps.
Exactly. So the room where the narrator would sleep when they stayed over had this huge toy closet, like big enough to actually fit a Lego table inside.
A walk-in closet for toys, basically.
Yeah. And Michael, the boy, apparently spent most of his time in there, just building with Legos. The narrator mentions frequently hearing him talking constantly while he was in the closet.
Talking to himself.
Yeah, but the narrator says it wasn't like typical kids play talking. It sounded different, which led them to just assume maybe he had, some kind of issues. He'd only really come out for food, then go right back in until it was time for bed.
Okay, setting the scene. A slightly unusual kid spends all his time in this big closet.
Right. So the narrator goes to sleep in that room, but wakes up middle of the night.
Yeah.
Two sounds coming from the closet.
What kind of sounds?
Sounds like Legos, clicking, moving around.
Okay.
So they call out, Michael, go back to sleep. And the sound stops immediately. But it felt weird because the closet light was definitely off.
Right, so pitch black in there?
Yeah.
Trying to rationalize it, maybe? Maybe he just stopped when they called out.
That was the first thought, yeah. They get up, go over, open the closet door, flip on the light. But they don't see Michael right away. They kind of look around, don't see anything, and just dismiss it. Think, okay, I'm just being paranoid, maybe hearing things. Go back to sleep.
Happens sometimes. You hear bumps in the night.
Yeah. But then, about an hour later, they wake up again. And this time, the room isn't totally dark. There's like a partial brightness. The closet light is on.
Oh.
But the door is shut.
Okay, that's definitely stranger. The light was off before.
Definitely stranger. So, feeling annoyed now, the narrator calls Michael's name again. Louder this time. And then they see it. At the bottom of the closet door, in the crack of light, distinct outlines of feet.
Feet. Under the door.
Yes. And then they hear a little giggle.
Okay, now that sounds like a kid messing around.
That's exactly what the narrator assumes. Okay, Michael's just being mischievous, trying to spook them. So annoyed, they march over to the closet, ready to tell him off, and they throw the door open. And the source says they literally fell back in horror.
Why? What did they see?
Absolutely nothing. Nobody was in the closet. It was empty, and the foot outlines gone.
Whoa, okay, wait. They saw feet, heard a giggle, opened the door.
Yeah.
Empty.
Completely empty. The fear described is so intense they actually felt physical pain from the shock and the terror.
Wow. That specific detail, seeing the feet, hearing the giggle, that makes the discovery of the empty closet incredibly jarring. Your source really captures that whiplash from annoyance to just pure terror.
Yeah, their immediate reaction is just pure instinct. Get to Michael, they run out of the room, down the hall to his bedroom, burst in.
And was he there?
He was there, sound asleep in his bed.
Okay, so whatever, or whoever was in that closet,
Yeah.
wasn't Michael.
Apparently not. The narrator, completely terrified, locks Michael's bedroom door from the inside, and then just lies down on the floor next to his bed, feeling safer just being near another person, And they eventually fall asleep right there on the floor.
Just needing that human presence after something so inexplicable.
Exactly. The next day, the parents come home. The narrator doesn't say a word about what happened, just collects their pay and leaves. Never had to babysit there again, thankfully. But the source makes it clear it still sends chills down their spine. They still question what on earth they witnessed that night.
This account
Yeah.
is, profoundly unsettling.
Yeah.
Because the threat here isn't someone breaking in from outside. It's something seemingly inexplicable, maybe even supernatural, happening within the home. It plays on that deep fear of the unknown, doesn't it? And it leaves that lasting psychological impact precisely because there's no clear, rational explanation, you're just left wondering.
We've definitely gone through some truly chilling accounts today, all pulled directly from the source material you provided. What's really striking when you look across all 4 of these stories is just the sheer range of experiences, the different kinds of threats.
Absolutely.
You've got, a straightforward home invasion and robbery during a storm. Then you have this persistent, creepy stalking from the woods. And finally, something completely unexplainable happening inside the house itself.
Yeah, and if we kind of connect that to the bigger picture, these stories, drawn from your source, they really highlight how fragile our sense of security can be. Even places we think of as totally safe, like our homes or the home we're working in. They show how quickly a normal, everyday situation can just flip into something terrifying. And they also show the different ways people react when they're faced with that kind of extreme fear and unpredictable danger. The source really demonstrates that danger can show up in some incredibly varied and unsettling ways.
So thinking about you listening right now, why do you think stories like these resonate so much? Is it maybe the relatability of the setting, a house at night, the woods nearby, taking care of kids? Or maybe it's more that fundamental fear of the unexpected threat, the danger appearing right where you feel you should be safest, shattering that basic sense of security?
It's a good question. This collection of accounts from your source material definitely raises another important point. How do these kinds of encounters, these brushes, with the terrifying, whether it's a tangible person or something seemingly inexplicable, how do they challenge our basic understanding of security, of reality itself even?
Right. So, as you reflect on these stories we've shared from the source, here's maybe something to consider. What do you find truly more frightening? Is it the clear, tangible threat, the intruder you can see, the stalker you can identify, something you can potentially react to logically? Or is it something unseen, something inexplicable, like those sounds and sights in the closet that leaves you questioning what's even real?
Sometimes maybe the things we can't understand, the things we can't easily explain away, maybe those are the most terrifying things of all. They leave you with that lingering vulnerability, those unanswered questions.
Well, that was certainly a journey into some very unsettling territory today.
We really aimed to draw directly from the source material you shared, giving a clear picture of the events described and, well, the intense fear involved in each of these accounts.
Thank you so much for joining us as we explored these stories. We hope they've given you something thought-provoking to reflect on.
Till next time.
Goodbye for now.